To all of you out there, I'm Cito Beltran. Welcome to the program Agenda here on Signal TV channels 8 and 250, as well as those of you who are watching us via Facebook, yung mga nanonood sa Facebook at sa YouTube and on Facebook na hindi maintindihan paano ba kami hanapin, go to One News PH Facebook or One News PH YouTube. Thank you very much once again for joining us. It gives us reason to get up. It gives us reason to be cheerful in spite of everything. And I hope that you have had a restful night. Today is August 19, 2020. It's a Wednesday, and today we are going to have a number of guests who, again, will surely give you more information, more knowledge. And today we will be interviewing Congressman Representative Romulo of Pasig City, Chairman of the House Committee on Basic Education and Culture. Alam ko po, medyo yung iba sa inyo, medyo bingi na, medyo tengang kawali na dahil wala nang parang urong-sulong yung pagbubukas ng eskwela. Ganun po. Please be patient. Please be understanding. Please be tolerant because we're not in normal circumstance. We will never be in normal circumstance for as long as COVID-19 is lurking all over the country, if not all over the world. In any case, Romulo will surely inform us kasi may mga nasaga po tayong balita na nagtaasa na raw po, grabe, pahirapan na. It is a serious effort, and I can testify to this because my beloved darling wife spent 2 weeks on her computer, on the web, trying to find suppliers for laptops para dun sa ilang scholar namin sa Batangas. Kailangan po namin ng 3 laptops, hindi kami makahanap, pahirapan, at syempre naman, dahil kami mga senior citizen, hindi naman kami pwedeng lumabas at baka mahawa pa kami, kakabili lang ng laptop para sa estudyante. So, in any case, it took her 2 weeks, it took several suppliers, and the prices are just enough to give you an aneurysm or a seizure. In any case, we'll talk to Congressman Romulo about that. And then after that, we will speak with Mr. Teodoro Ted Padilla, Executive Director of the Pharmaceutical and Healthcare Association of the Philippines. Kasi po, kamakailan, this other day, they issued a statement calling on the government, to ano yung aking tao na yung face shield daw na sasagap. Yaan mo, kasama yan sa eksena today. Talagang itong executive producer ko kumisan si Gabriel. In any case, the PHAP issued a statement the other day calling on government to reconsider the price control or price cap on medicines as an instrument for access to medicine. Sabi nila, marami namang ibang paraan. Alamin natin, why only now? Ano nagbago? Paano ba ang suggestion ng PHAP para marami sa ating mas makakabili pa ng gamot? Is it really possible? Is it really feasible to buy even cheaper medicines without government intervention? Because alam niyo po, yung anak ko, nung umuwi, pumunta sila ng Holland para mag-aral yung anak ko, I'm sorry, but I spoke to her doctors and I said, look, can you just prescribe all the medicines that she should have on standby for at least the next 6 months because there is no telling if she will have access to medicine there, etc. So, namili kami. Palagay ko, baka 2 buwan kong babayaran sa credit card yung inabot ng binayaran ko sa mga medisina. Medyo kailangan malaman natin yan. And last but not the least, not the least, si Edrick Mendoza, Chairman of the Homeschool Global Learning Inc., because a number of parents out there are confused. Parang, how do we go about enrolling in a homeschool program? How do we tell if a homeschool program is good, etc.? So ang ginawa ko po, syempre, you do not go to people you don't know or you don't test, especially if it will result in other people taking your suggestion or advice. So yung subok na namin, yung aming nagamit at one point in Hannah's life, yung homeschooling, yun na yung pupuntahan natin. We will speak with Edrick Mendoza. In any case, as I said, it's going to be interesting morning. And kung may mga nagbabago po, no, ayun, okay, sige, sasabihin ko na ngayon, ano, bakit itong kahon ng face shield hawak-hawak ni Kuya Cito? Kasi po, nung bumili kami ng mga face shield at may nagbigay pa, isang bagay, yung asawa ko hanap ng instruction sa loob. Wala naman pala sa loob, nasa labas. Pangalawa, pagdating nila sa airport, papunta ng Holland, doon pa lang sa NAIA, sabi niya sa amin, hindi ko malaman kung matatawa kami or magkakamot ng ulo. Sabi ko, why? Because there were so many people who were being assisted by the NAIA personnel na tanggalin yung film. Ito po kasing shield, itong face shield, yung palang plastic niya, merong nakabal, parang cling wrap ba? May plastic pang pangalawa para wag magasgas. Ay yung iba, inassemble, sinuot, tapos parang humihina na yata yung mata ko. Parang yung commercial nung isang eyeglass company, di ba? Humihina na yata. Sinabi doon sa airport, tanggalin niyo po yung yung film protection diyan sa inyong face shield. So sinasabi ko lang, and that's the reason why the face shield was prominently featured in the set. Okay, so let's go forward with our news today. Umpisahan po natin. Here are the stories from the front page of the Philippine Star. Public transportation and local flights resume today in Metro Manila and nearby provinces as the protocol shifts to General Community Quarantine or GCQ. The Transportation Department says public utility vehicles like trains, jeepneys, buses, taxis, and UV Express units are ready to serve commuters. Over 63,000 PUVs are expected to ply Metro Manila roads. Side comment ko lang po, please, DOTR and attached agencies, pakitingnan naman ninyo o siguruduhin nyo na yung mga flights ay makalipad at saka yung mga ferry boats ay makausad na because apparently someone told me they saw at least 30 people yata, a small group of people in NAIA 3 who have been stranded there because inabutan sila ng MECQ at walang flights palabas ng Metro Manila. Siguro ito yung mga papuntang Davao, papuntang Iloilo, or wherever. And, to be stuck at the airport, 30 of you, 2 days, kanya nga yung mga kaibigan ko dyan sa NAIA, dumadaing na Para na raw extension office ng DSWD o LSI holding area. Airport po yan, hindi po dapat yan maging orphanage, no? And yung pong mga nasa barko naman, GCQ na rin naman, pakawalan na. Tsaka kahit anong gawin nyo, kailangan yung palabasin yan, karapatan yan. Anyway, next story. As GCQ takes place again, the number of COVID cases in the country may reach 230,000 by the end of August, according to the OCTA research team. The group had earlier proposed an additional 2 weeks of modified enhanced community quarantine, or MECQ, to reinforce the downtrend in infections. Period. Nick Cano Austriaco, visiting biology professor at University of Santo Tomas, explained that a 2-week period is a single viral incubation time and that an additional 2 weeks would have allowed the virus to die without spreading to new patients. Given the situation, the researchers have stressed the need to strengthen protocols such as granular lockdowns, isolation, contact tracing, and testing. Side comment, ayan po, urong sulong, kabig tulak, close open. We cannot solve a problem if we are double-minded. That is written in the Bible. A double-minded man will never get his prayers answered. Pati ako na double-minded na. In any case, yun po, no, we need to do something about that. Ang problema, wala, palit-palit. Kailangan kumita, kailangan mag-ingat, kailangan kumita. Patay. Next, in other news, whistleblowers and senior officials at PhilHealth have tagged Health Chief Secretary Francisco Duque III as the godfather of the alleged mafia in the state insurer. This so-called mafia allegedly pocketed billions of pesos through various corruption schemes. Former anti-fraud officer Thorson Montes Keith and Regional Vice President on leave Dennis Adre both said that Duque condoned various wrongdoings in the agency. Duque, meanwhile, has previously testified that he does not tolerate graft and corruption. Side comment po, kung talagang naniniwala kayong siya yung godfather, kasuhan nyo kahit na malakas pa siya kay Presidente Duterte. Kasi sabi naman ni Tatay Digong, walang mapapalampas, walang makakalusot, basta corruption. The problem here, I think Secretary Duque is now paying for his sins. Bakit kanyo? Personally, and magkaibigan naman kami ni Secretary Duque, sinabihan ko naman siya you have to be in the front line against this battle against corruption. Being the executive that he has always pointed to the President and CEO of PhilHealth and said, asikasuhin yan, I support you. Ayan, now, ayan na, it has now come back to bite you. Now, you have the bullseye on your puwet. Okay, let's go to the next news. A magnitude 6.6 earthquake struck Masbate province, other areas in Bicol, and the Visayas yesterday morning. One retired police officer died in the quake, while 24 others were injured. The casualty, identified as Gilbert Sauro, was a retired police colonel whose house collapsed during the shaking of the ground. The tremor occurred at around 8 a.m. yesterday and was centered in Kataingan, Masbate. Ayun po, no, medyo ako mismo, huli kong nasagap yung balita na yan. I found out about this earthquake late in the day yesterday. I even had to check with Gab regarding the veracity kasi ngayon po hindi ka na makasiguro dahil ilan-ilan talaga nakakagalaw, medyo hindi natin masiguro kung meron talaga naging lindol. And as it turns out, it was a very strong earthquake. Fortunately, sabi ng mga experts, mabuti na lang malalim yung pinanggalingan. Kasi kung mababaw-babaw daw, baka hindi lang 6.6 ang tumama sa Masbate. Our hearts go to the people of Masbate. We pray that the Lord will give you comfort, will give you relief, will give you hope in this disaster. And sana po hindi naman ito magdagdag sa mga perwisyo kasi may mga kaibigan tayo dyan sa Masbate, napakababait po ng mga tao dyan and welcoming, and yan nga yung El Rancho de Pilipinas. Okay, we'll move forward, and for news that's not in the front page pero feeling namin kailangan ninyong malaman, pinag-usapan namin ito ni Gab Malyari, aming EP. At gusto ko lang pong ipaabot sa inyo, no, yung mga hindi namin nababasa. 1 million young Filipinos age 15 to 24 will or 1 million, ewan ko kung mga Filipinos to, pero yun yung nasa nandoon sa balita nandiyan dyan. 1 million young Pinoy workers stand to lose jobs, Asian Development Bank. Kasi raw, una't-una, ito yung mga age 15 to 24 na nag-uumpisa pa lang makasample ng part-time job, OJT, etc. First-timer, biglang na-lockdown. Pagkatapos, sinasabi pa doon na ano lang sila kasi hardest hit daw yung mga industries who hire young people, yung mga restaurants, ganun, etc. Ito pa ang problema. Kinulong pa natin yung mga 20 and below na mga bata sa bahay at sinabing huwag papalabasin. Alam nyo, sinabi ko na yan ilang ulit. Maraming bata age 18 to 20, may mga asawa na, may mga anak na, nakakatulong sa kanilang pamilya sa hanap buhay, sa kabuhayan, or somehow helping the family. I just, a few weeks ago, and I'm so sorry to that viewer, reader, a few weeks ago from Cebu, who lamented the fact that his son could not get his driver's license because bawal silang lumabas. Sabi, paano? This was before ni-lockdown yung not just 2 weeks ago, before ni-lockdown yung Cebu. Naisip ko, it probably applies to many young people. Hindi ka makakuha ng lisensya, hindi ka makapagmaneho, hindi ka makatulong sa pamilya mo. So, it hit home. And the IATF people, and ironically, ito pang mga batang to, yung pa yung mga malalakas ang resistensya at immunity. Now, good news, Sevilla Bridge. Yan po nga connecting Makati and San Juan. Diyan po dyan sa may Rockwell. Bukas na raw po. Kahapon pa ito dapat. And then remittances, month on month, tumaas daw. Matapos yung 3 buwan na lagapak ang remittances papasok sa Pilipinas, tumaas ang mga remittances, nakabangon daw, and according to the data from the BSP, these are largely from contract workers, short-term contract workers abroad. Yung mga 1 year ba? Sabi ng misis ko, nako, dyan daw po sa Doha, sa Qatar. Aba, kung hindi raw Bombay, Pilipino, o Aprikano, kung hindi raw Aprikano, Pilipino ang makikita mo doon. Pagka dami-dami daw Pilipinong nagtatrabaho doon at nakasabay din sila ng mga Pilipinong mga seafarers na ewan ko kung pauwi o paluwas na sa kanilang mga destinasyon. So medyo good news na yun, no? Tapos sa SWS survey, 45% unemployment na raw. According to the survey of the Social Weather Station, SWS, 45% of Filipinos have lost their jobs or don't have jobs. Sabi naman ng isang magaling na government official, it could have been worse. Okay, papasalamat tayo na 45% lang at hindi 60%. Maghintay ka, it could have been worse. Maghintay ka kasi it will be worse. Ang problema, yun na nga, kanya nga si Presidente, alala na kung anong gagawin. Pagkatapos, sasabihin pa natin, it could have been worse. Good news, full testing. COVID-19, mas mura na. Yung RT-PCR, ginawa nila Joey Concepcion, full testing, so mas mumura na yan. We'll go to other things, but first, tingnan nga natin kung available na si Congressman Romulo. Pasensya ka na, Gabriel. Yung ating system ay mukhang nakabitin dito sa telepono ko. In any case, let me check. Is Congressman Romulo available already? Or is he... Okay, there we go. My dear friend, good friend, Congressman Romulo, good morning.
Ay, magandang umaga, Sir Cito. At sa lahat po ng nanonood, nakikinig, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Good morning po.
Good morning. Akong medyo first topic of the day ko itong computers kasi nadinig ko sa isang kasama mo or nadinig ko sa balita. May kasama ka Congressman Castelo. I don't know if it's the Winnie Castelo or the wife of Winnie Castelo or another Castelo who's pushing for the waiving of taxes on all internet-related equipment, yung gadgets ba, yung laptop, iPads, na related to education. Kasi sobrang nagsipaan ang presyo at nagkaroon daw ng shortage. Eh ano bang masasabi mo tungkol dito, Congressman Romulo?
Well, unang-una, Sir Cito, si Precious po yun, ano? Siya po yung nanunungkulan ngayon sa Kongreso.
Yung ba yung
Ah,
misis ni Winnie?
yes, yung asawa po
Okay.
ni Yes.
Kasi si Winnie, alam mo, hindi mo nala tatanong, uhugin pa yan, kapitbahay na namin yan. Kami yung mga
Yes.
bully. Kami yung mga bully, siya yung mabait. Ngayon, congressman na siya o dating congressman. So now, it's his wife,
Yes po.
Precious. Okay, okay.
Yes. Well, kung meron po proposal si Precious na tanggalan po natin ng tax, siguro kahit sino naman sasang-ayon dahil especially ngayon, Sito, ang talagang isang modality na i-adopt ng DepEd ay yung online distance
Mm.
learning at karamihan sa ating mga private schools, yan talaga po ang magagamit. Of course, iba po yung usapan pagdating sa ating DepEd schools or public schools. Pero again, dahil marami po ang gagamit ng online, siguro dapat talaga ma-consider po ng executive yan. Pero again, Sir Cito, assuming tanggalin natin ang taxes, we're all for that. Alisin natin yung taxes yan para mas magaang ang pagbili po niyan. Again po, the law of supply and demand will come in at one point. So talagang
Mhm.
kailangan rin po talagang magandang balanse po ang gawin natin sa modalities na gagawin natin. Kasi meron pa namang isang modality at ito yung radio and TV. Siguro kailangan natin medyo paigtingin yung pag-ayos rin ito.
Yeah, but Congressman, I'm just kind of pursuing this angle, and you're the best person to comment on this kasi you know numbers, you know economics, you know finance. Parang there is so much to be gained because people are thinking schools, no, public schools, mga bata. Pero nagbago na yung sitwasyon natin. A bulk of our economy is now online. Most of our communication is now online. Ito nga, ating TV show ngayon, online na. Parang it would be disadvantageous if we prolong the ability of Filipinos to procure, to buy the right equipment, the right materials, para kumbaga makasulong na tayo dahil meron na tayong tamang gamit. Ang problema at saka alam mo kung Roman, ang mga lumalapit sa akin hindi mga maliliit na tao mga middle class, upper class. Sabi,
Yeah.
Sito, dehado tayo, ang laki ng mga taxes, dapat ibaba nila para makaabante na kaagad yung ekonomiya.
That is correct po. Hindi lang po sa taxes sa pagbili, Sir Cito, pati ang kasama rin po dyan dahil if you remember po, meron nangyari po na proposal o kino-consider na pati yung mga sales over the internet ay itatax rin, di ba po? So
Yeah.
I think kasama rin yon sa mga binabanggit siguro ng iba nating kasama sa
Mm.
Kongreso. Pero Sir Cito, kaya tama ho kayo, kailangan talaga medyo mag-push na ngayon itong ating DOF and DBM, dapat mag-usap sila with NEDA kasi talagang this might be an opportunity. Ito na ho yung new normal talaga na mangyayari sa atin. Even when the time comes na may vaccine na tayo,
Yeah.
I'm sure that work from home will be something that we should look forward to. Una-una yung traffic, matutulungan po tayo. Pangalawa, we will be able to get more people into the economy kasi marami rin po sa atin na talagang kailangan rin po sila sa bahay. Kapag nasa bahay sila, at least productive. Gusto rin nila maging productive eh. So at least nakakapagtrabaho sila. And the best way po talaga is through the internet. In fact, Sir Cito, kung titingnan mo yung mga talking about education only, matagal na yung mga batas natin sa online education eh. But then until now, nothing has really happened eh. We have not progressed as far as we want eh. So in a way, ito na rin. Wala tayong choice ngayon. Walang choice ang DepEd ngayon. Walang choice ang CHED. So this will be that opportunity for them to really roll out the implementation of these online classes eh. Kasi
Congressman,
kailangan ma-perfect rin nila ngayon eh. Hindi practice to eh. Totoong
Yeah.
nangyayari eh.
yeah, Congressman, why do you say nothing happened in spite of the long list of laws, legislations forwarded by you and your associates for online learning. Why do you say nothing happened? What is the nothing that happened and why?
Yes. Kung maalala po natin na nung enrollment po para sa DepEd schools natin, tinanong po nung DepEd yung mga magulang na nag-e-enroll ano ang gusto niyong modality? Karamihan po, more than 50% chose the third modality, which is the delivery of self-learning materials. Tinanong sila, bakit yun ang pipiliin nyo? Ang sagot ng karamihan, of course, walang gadget, pero karamihan rin, walang wifi. Ibig sabihin, nakikita po natin na hindi totoo na talagang nag-progress na tayo sa paggamit ng wifi. Meron tayong mga probinsya until now, humihingi nga, nagpa-file ng mga resolution sa committee natin saying that wala kaming COVID sa lugar namin, sa probinsya namin. Why are you going to force us to use online? Wala nga kaming wifi doon, wala rin kaming COVID. So with minimum health protocols, baka naman mas maayos sa amin ang gamitin namin yung face-to-face. But then again po, all comments that you will hear, whether Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, kaya dito sa Metro Manila, dito lang mo sa lungsod ng Pasig, si Mayor Vico had to make moves po to ensure na makausap yung telecom companies, telecom providers o yung wifi providers natin para masigurado na yung mga ibang areas po natin dito ay malagyan ng wifi. Pero hanggang ngayon, hindi rin kaya lahat-lahat. So, should they not have done that? Yung 2015 po pumasa yung online distance learning, especially sa CHED po, no? Di ba dapat doon palang tinulak na po nila na masigurado, without wifi, bali walang online classes That should have been one of the priorities. Hindi dahil they foresaw na may mangyayaring pandemic na ganito. Pero ang online po will help not only during pandemic times o health crisis, pero marami, you mentioned kanina, Sir Cito, marami ho tayong mga kababayan, kailangan maaga pa lang na edad, nagtatrabaho na, tumutulong sa pamilya. Pero gusto pa rin nila magkaroon na makatapos ng elementary, high school at magka-college degree. Pero dala ng pangangailangan sitwasyon, they have to work. But online classes will help them get the degrees and move forward with their lives. Pero obviously ngayon nakikita natin na hindi talaga masyado nagprogreso yung online kasi wala gagamitin talaga ng karamihan will be self-learning materials. In fact, Sir Cito, that is one of the reasons bakit maganda na kanina narinig ko, sinabi mo nga, may nagko-komento na bakit urong-sulong. August 24, naging October 5. Pero sa isang banda masaya ako na naurong kasi we have about 21 million students in our DepEd schools. 2 million po nasa private schools and more or less. Sa ngayon, you have 900,000 teachers in the DepEd schools. Kung ang i-apply po natin yung delivery of self-learning materials, you will have so many people going to the different schools by batches. So dadaan po ng mga kalsada natin, may mga teachers na pupunta po sa mga bahay-bahay. So how will we help flatten the curve? Kaya in that sense lang, masaya ako dahil we really have to help the frontliners. Alam ko parang urong-sulong, pero that's the way it is, boy.
Well, no, yung urong sulong is a general comment of things, no? Because even with the testing, with the systems, parang hindi magkaintindihan Kahapon nga, may kausap akong tiga DILG, sa kanila parang ang pagkakaintindi niya, dapat pupunta ka lang sa ospital pag malala ka na. Sabi ko, kanya ka nga montik matuluyan Pumunta ka sa ospital nung malala ka na. Sabi ng mga tiga DOH, bago pa lang, may nararamdaman ka na, magpatingin ka na. So there's always this confusion. But let me go back to what you first said regarding the nothing happened. No? I'm just of the opinion that nothing happens in the Philippines because we give too many choices. Number one. Kumbaga, marami tayong modality. So ngayon, nag-aaway tayo, naghihilahan, nagtutulakan kung sino ang masusunod. Number one. Number two, we have corruption in the Philippines. Alam nyo, Congressman, and Roman, personal na Huwag mo na ako isersito, no? Alam natin na corruption is the number one enemy of technology. Yung sa PhilHealth, sinabi yan ni Rick Morales na pag na modernize ang kanilang ang kanilang technology, etc., computerization, mababawasan. Sa LTO, ginawa yan ni Asek Galvante. Sinabi niya puro online payment na. May mga pumalag within his own ranks. So I'm seeing this time and again na kanya pumapalag yung iba, ginagamit na lang excuse yung kaya naman namin COVID-free. Pero parang sa akin lang, Congressman Roman, why do we even give them a choice to remain in the past when they can be in the future, which is online technology? Kasi parang ako hindi ako maka-order. Alam mo bang hindi ako maka-order ng Lazada, Shopee, GrabFood? Kasi I never bothered to learn. Sabi ko, magluluto na lang ako. Yung utak namin, Jurassic
Tama ho, Sito, no? In fact, that's why nabanggit ko. Now, walang choice lahat eh. They have to move on the I guess progress of Wi-Fi kasi talagang mapapansin po yung DICT po natin, mapapansin ano ang ginagawa po ninyo. Although bago naman ang DICT, ano, pero still, ano ang ginagawa ninyo? Bakit hanggang ngayon andirito pa rin tayo sa level na ito sa ating mga Wi-Fi? So again, I guess this pandemic of COVID-19 now will force people to use technology kasi walang choice, hindi practice to, hindi testing eh. But this will actually be for now, the new normal.
Yeah. What about, ewan ko okay, sige, right now, modality natin, kailangan self-learning, kailangan may radyo, may telebisyon, pero posible ba na magdeklara ka na as the chairman of the Education Committee na, okay, beginning August 19, 2020, tayo we will go on the exodus towards modernization. Meaning, kasi alam mo, Congressman Roman, 10 years ago, sinusulat ko na sa column ko yun na ang daming bansa, may tablets na yung mga bata. Hindi na nagbabag, hindi na ang dami-daming libro, tablet lang ang dala nila. But
Yes.
parang whatever happened, I think you yourself were talking about that 10 years ago, that we should give tablets to children.
That is correct. Ano? In fact, Sito, I'm waiting. If we recall po nung SONA ni Pangulong Duterte, nabanggit niya na gusto niya mag-improve, in fact, yung telecom companies natin dito by December. So I think we will have to, we are waiting for that December. In fact, in the last committee meeting, tinatanong po namin sa Smart and sa Globe, yung reach po nila sa ating mga probinsya. As an example, I think one telecom company is nabanggit ng isang member na sa probinsya niya, Sorsogon, ni halos walang presence yung isang telecom company. So I think itong deadline na binibigay rin ni Pangulong Duterte will be something that we should anticipate and wait and see what the results will be. Pero right now, kinukulit rin natin kasi mahirap magdeklara right now na dapat by December, sabi ni Pangulong Duterte, improve na lahat ng Wi-Fi natin. Dapat doon na tayo sa technology. Pero paano kung wala? May iwan ulit. But again, ang ngayon, tutukan lang natin.
Pero ang tanong kong Congressman Romulo, Roman, kasi
Yes.
itong problema ko dyan I love that the President said, you need to improve. Game. May ang point ko, let's be realistic naman. Kung ako kumpanya at sinabihan ninyo ko dahil Pangulo kayo na magtayo ako ng tore simula Apari to Holo, magbibigay ba kayo ng suporta? Kasi iuutang namin yung perang yan, mag-hire kami ng pagkadami-daming mga engineers, welders at laborers. Yung massive modernization na yan to be done in less than 6 months is just impossible. It's really an impossible imposition. I'm sure they can hit maybe 45%. What are the people in Congress saying regarding giving subsidy to these two telecom companies? Kasi yung third nga, hindi pa makabangon Di ba? Hanggang ngayon, wala pa. Napako na sila dito. Dati dito sila, ngayon doon na sila. Hindi na dito.
Ang sinasabi sa atin, Sito, no, nung telecom companies during the last hearing, which was just last Thursday, ano, ang sabi nila talaga, ang difficulty nila is really sa dami ng permits that they were supposed to obtain
Mm.
before establishing yung towers ata nila or yung connection nila. According to them, and the records will bear us on this, they mentioned na right now, nagiging magaang in fact they seem very positive sa akin because sabi nila the DILG since the declaration during the SONA has been very helpful at medyo bumibilis po yung mga tinutulungan sila in terms of the permits they need. Tama ho
Mm.
kayo Sito, no? Maybe the whole Philippines will be difficult agad-agad pero you must remember there is that common towers that they are referring to na yung sharing, di ba? So
Aha.
if that will be, kung makakatulong ang especially executive department, dahil nautusan na rin po sila, na-deklara na during the SONA, and sabi naman sa amin ng telecom companies na DILG has been assisting them now, tingin ko baka we will see, baka hindi 100%, pero isang a big leap would be very much appreciated and talagang makakatulong kasi ang pinakamaganda talaga online lahat eh because that
Yeah.
will minimize the risk to everyone eh.
At saka no choice na tayo eh. The entire world is operating on cell phones and iPads and laptops and parang tayo pa rin, mano-mano pa rin tayo. And if
Eh,
we want to raise the next generation as globally competitive, we need to make the investments. But the question is, what is the inclination? Kasi pag nakinig naman ako dun sa mga may hawak ng pera at saka kay Presidente Duterte, nakaka-nervyos eh, bangkarote na raw, wala raw pera, mangungutang. We cannot say that when the future of the youth is at stake.
I agree, Sito. In fact, let me mention right now, meron din pala tayong, we just passed in the committee a bill called Public Schools of the Futures in Technology. Ito,
Okay.
talagang ang gusto natin dito ay yung lalo na yung DepEd schools natin which houses about 21 to 23 million students, ay ito yung maumpisahan natin na talagang technology na ang gagamitin nila. But then, Sito, if you will notice, ang ginawa namin ngayon sa bill is effectively we made it into parang phases eh, roadmap eh. Kasi dati ho, I remember a long time ago, we started this computer laboratories in public schools and ngayon nasa na lahat yon, di ba?
Yeah.
Imagine all the wastage that happened. Assuming talagang wala nang, kasi parang hindi ko na napapansin yan eh. The wastage that happened and sabi mo nga kanina, maaaring may corruption pa na nangyari, di ba? That's
Mm.
a possibility. So ang kailangan natin talaga, itong public schools of the future, itong plano namin is talagang ano siya, in phases eh. Talagang
Yeah.
inuutusan natin ng DepEd na gumawa ng roadmap kasi kailangan niya that's why we had Globe and Smart eh, during the committee meeting
Kung
kasi gusto natin masabayan nila yung pagbaba natin ng technology sa bawat paaralan.
okay,
Kasi useless na
Congressman.
magbigay tayo na wala namang wifi.
Exactly. I mean, I'm there already, no? Yung mga requirements natin, yung
Yeah.
sinasabi mo nga, dapat may tablet, may iPad o may Wi-Fi, etc. Dapat may telecoms, etc. Pero kayo ba sa Kongreso na audit nyo na ba ang ating, and I'm not casting suspicion on DepEd kasi I love the DepEd, I admire the DepEd. Pero yung sinasabi kong corruption, nasa local scenario yun eh. Kasi syempre, di ba, may shared cost sila. May share ang DILG sa DepEd. Tapos ang DepEd, pag nagpapagawa ng mga buildings, ng mga eskwelahan, binibigay lang nila yung pera sa DPWH.
Yes.
And in the last year before COVID-19, na-discover natin because of the earthquakes and typhoons, tinamaan ng lintik ng mga eskwelahan na tinayo yan, eh mas matibay pa yung gawa sa kawayan kaysa yung gawa sa simento dahil walang bakal, dahil dinaya, etc. Have you done a study, para akong congressman nag-iimbestiga, no? Have you done a study to determine the wastage that we incur building schools, building physical schools versus the savings and efficiency of online learning?
A study na kino-compare po yon, I have not seen a study about that, but probably that is a good suggestion na para lang makita natin ang costing po ng pareho
Oo.
I think that that is something we should look at. Unfortunately, talagang kailangan lang talaga paspasan na. That's why we really have to push our telecom companies and yung executive to ensure na matulungan yung telecom companies na may saayos to, because talagang again not even counting Cito yung let's not even count yung corruption that yung alleged corruption pero just the fact na talagang sumisikip na rin ang urban areas wala ka naman talaga
Exactly.
matatayuan kahit gusto mo. Talagang the
Oo.
way to go is really through technology. Talagang that is the only way. Online tayo, virtual, for many, plus yung sitwasyon na others really have to work. Kasi talagang, lalo dito sa NCR, parang ubos na talaga yung ubos na talaga yung areas Wala na talagang masyadong matatayuan dito sa NCR Tapos nagdagdag pa ho tayo with that K-12. Remember, that's why we had to go towards the private schools at one point Kasi
Yeah.
walang buildable space Not
Yeah.
enough na talaga
Well, siguro para may magkaalaman na, di ba? Baka mas maganda, Congressman Romulo, paaral ninyo,
Yes.
ano ba, saan ba napupunta yung perang binibigay natin sa buildings, sa maintenance, sa operations of these physical schools? What will all that money buy in terms of new technology and efficiency? Para sa ganon, medyo mabawasan na rin yung corruption. Kasi, nako, hindi lang pinag-uusapan yan. Pero alam mo, at the local, pag nagpatayo ka ng building sa public school, syempre may makikinabang na local contractor, local official, etc. Kanya yung iba, ayaw nila nitong online na ito. In any case, I do hope, Congressman Romulo, na pagpatuloy mo yung mga ginagawa ninyo nila Precious Castelo, nila Joey Salceda, kasi ang dami-dami nating bata ang problema old Jurassic pa rin panahon ko pa rin yung style ng pagtuturo dapat medyo mabago na. Thank you very much, Congressman Romulo.
Thank you, Sir Cito. Thank you very much at magandang umaga po ulit, Cito.
Okay, yan po si Congressman Romulo ng minamahal naming syudad ng Pasig. Kami dito sa Pasig, maswerte kami. Gwapo at magaling na yung congressman, gwapo at magaling pa yung mayor. Di syempre, gwapo rin kami. Okay, anyway, we'll ewan ko po, magbe-break ba kami ni Gab ngayon? But alam niyo po, kanya ako nangungulit dito sa tablets, dito sa iPads na pumasok na lang tayo sa online. I challenge you, kung meron kang telepono o meron kang iPad o meron kang tablet o computer, isipin mo, ano yung gustong-gusto mong gawain? Hobby or matagal mo nang interesado ka pero hindi mo nasusubukan. And then punta ka ng YouTube. Sa gardening lang po, baka next year na kayo pull out sa dami ng mababasa ninyo sa pag-aalaga ng koi, nando doon, sa paggawa ng bisikleta, nando doon. Yun lang pong YouTube education ay hindi mo na kailangan ng teacher, manood ka lang, ang dami mong malalaman. Pero tama si Congressman Romulo, kailangan natin ng cell towers, kailangan natin ng internet connectivity, and tama po si Presidente, dapat mag-level up, pero wag po nating banatan yung mga telco. At kasi ako po mismo na-experience ko yan noon nung tinutulungan kong magtayo ng tower doon sa lugar ko mismo, sa Lipa. Ay Ginoo, 18 months kaming nakipagbunuan para matayo yung tower na yon. Kasi nung na-experience ko yung Yolanda, wala kaming cellphone nung nandoon kami sa Tacloban. Bakit? Kasi ilan lang naman ang cellphone nun, di giba lahat. So from that experience, I realized that we need as many towers as we can. Ito lang po ang problema. Sorry Gab, extended lang ito. Parang awa nyo na po. pag yung mga telco nagsabi sa inyong magtatayo sila ng poste malapit sa bahay nyo o tower sa loob ng village ninyo, wag po kayong mapraning. Kasi ako po may cell site ako, may tower ako sa loob ng lupa ko sa Lipa. Nakikinabang yung mga kapitbahay, yung kabarangay, yung bayan. Eh, kanyo, baka maka-cancer. Malamang-lamang, matuluyan ka sa atake sa puso, masagasaan ka, ma-COVID ka bago ka mamatay ng cancer. Kasi yan po yung mga trip ng mga Amerikano, mga praning. Okay, we'll go for a break. Let's find out what's up next. Alam ko na, yung tiga PHAP ang next. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran and you are watching us via Signal TV, channels 8 and 250. At salamat po dun sa mga nagtityaga na mapanood tayo sa Facebook, One News PH Facebook at One News PH YouTube. Okay, recently the Philippine, the Pharmaceutical and Healthcare Association of the Philippines, aka PHAP, ay nag-issue po ng statement calling on government, please reconsider your executive order na naglalagay ng maximum retail price sa mga gamot. Kasi may mga ibang kaparaanan para mas bumaba ang presyo ng gamot at mas maraming Pilipino ang makabili. Okay, let's bring in Executive Director Teodoro Teddy Padilla. Teddy. Kalimutan ko na, sa tagal na hindi kita nakita, senyor. Hindi ko na alam, Ted ba o Teddy?
Ted na lang po. Oh.
Okay, okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ted. Okay, medyo maraming napakamot ng ulo eh. They were kind of like, where is this statement coming from? Kasi parang you were calm, collected, and quiet nung lumalabas siyang maximum retail price. You were talking to the DOH, to Duque, and then tinuluyan pa rin ng DOH at ng Malacanang. And now in the middle of COVID, parang sabi ng mga tao, parang off yung timing. Can you kindly explain the background and why you issued the statement?
No, thank you, Cito, and good morning to you and to all your viewers. No, what happened is this: even when the executive order was issued, no, this was signed in I think February. No, we as PHAP, as the industry association, we were always coming out with our press statements, no, asking the government, asking the president to reconsider the executive order in light of, and this was even before the pandemic or the quarantine started, no? Because we have always argued that to improve access to medicines for people, we should consider price negotiations, bulk procurement, or pool procurement, and then even government subsidies on medicines, which is what is being done in almost all other markets that we are being compared to in the Philippines. So now, of course, the pandemic struck and all industries, including our industry, was affected. But we never rested. No, in fact, that's our motto. No, we will never rest to find a cure. We will never rest also to look for alternatives to propose to government, because at the same time, our members have also been hit hard by this situation. No, the costs of bringing in medicines, despite what people believe is a surge in demand, has actually gone tenfold. And we have not been passing those costs to our consumers, not to the patients. We've actually been absorbing those costs. So we continue to advocate on behalf of the industry and on behalf of the Filipino patients that there are better ways by which access to medicines can be done at more affordable prices through those measures that I mentioned earlier. If you're wondering why there was a statement issued, it's also because we had a webinar together with the Philippine Competition Commission, PCC. So that statement was actually also a result of that engagement we had with the PCC, with Chairman Balisacan and his team. No? And we welcome the partnership that we have with PCC. We also had one with the IPO Philippines as well. But with respect to PCC, that was actually, I think, very significant, because we all came to an agreement there that we wanted competition to continue to thrive. And that's also why we believe that there's no need for price controls to be used, because alam naman natin, no, with universal healthcare, with the Cancer Control Act, the government under PhilHealth and under the Philippine Pharma Procurement Agency can negotiate. And that's what's done in other countries. No? You cited recently just the experience that you had buying all these medicines for your daughter going to Holland. No? Amsterdam and Holland have an excellent universal healthcare program. No? And I think out of an abundance of caution, you probably decided to spend all that money on medicines for her, but in fact, she probably could have gotten a better deal with the cheaper medicines there. No, sorry to make you realize that. I could have probably done the same myself, because I saw that firsthand. No, so that's why if there's a concern on the part of why are we saying this, we haven't actually stopped with our campaign to get government to reconsider. No, Cito, this is not something that came out of the blue.
Kasi parang ang nangyayari ngayon, if I understand you correctly, the transaction is between patient and the pharmacy, which is the face of the pharma company. Sila yung dispensary ninyo. Pero yung government, parang walang actual participation ang government, who in fact can be the biggest bulk buyer. Kumbaga, sila yung may pera, kung maramihan silang mamimili, pagkatapos ilalagay nila sa mga public hospitals yan, ay mas mababa ang bentahan kesa sa transaction between one of your members and let's say of Mercury or Watson or generic pharmacy. Diba? Tama ba yun, yung pagkaintindi ko?
Yes, oo. Kasi what's going on here is in the country, 54% based on the statistics of government as well. 54% of our expenses for medicines is still what we call out of pocket. So it's still the patient paying for the medicines themselves. So whenever they talk about lowering the prices, cheaper medicines, it's like do it that way, so that people who go to the pharmacies will spend less. But what people also may not realize is that when you compare the Philippines scenario with that of our neighbors, let's say Thailand or the other ASEAN countries, even in other countries where you have the cost of care is lower, it's also because government has intervened. But their intervention is not in the form of slashing prices at retail, but rather to have it done by negotiating on behalf of its population. So the government is the single largest purchaser of goods and services in the healthcare sphere, which is what we already have under universal healthcare. The law that was signed by President Duterte early last year, as well as in the cancer control law that was also signed by the
Yeah,
president.
but is it being used and is it being implemented? Kasi maraming batas, Ted, maraming
Mm,
there's so many laws as our previous interviewee Congressman Romulo pointed
mm,
out,
yeah.
they've come out with so many laws but nothing was ever done by the executive or by the departments concerned.
Yeah. Alam mo, Sito, no, when it comes to negotiating, the DOH actually, I think, doesn't realize how good they are because we have examples in their own, available in the public domain that have proven that when they come in and have a set quantity in mind, no, medicines for kidney transplant or medicines for breast cancer, they actually were able to slash the price significantly because they came up also with the volume. So in other words, what they call yung bultuhan. When you know how much you have to buy, well, how the quantities that you have to buy, you can actually come to the table and say, look, this is how much we need. What's your price? And that's where you can get a negotiation going.
Matanong ko lang,
Sorry, go ahead.
sorry Ted, matanong ko lang no kasi sabi mo yung pakyawan Lahat ng Pilipino naintindihan yan Pag
Oo.
mamamakyaw ka o pakyawan ng bilihan, napakalaking mura. Ngayon, ang tanong ko no, yung bang gamot binabayaran din sa PhilHealth?
Yes. Oo, kasama
Okay.
din.
Hindi,
Oo.
kasi ito yung weird dito na hindi ko maintindihan na ngayon ko lang naisip and I could be wrong, no?
Mm.
Kayo sa PHAP, sinasabi ninyo sa DOH at sa gobyerno, mamakyaw na lang sila. Buy in bulk, buy in wholesale, and kayo sa PHAP, yung mga members ninyo, lahat yung mga multinational corporation, ibibigay ninyo ng malaking discount dahil bultuhan o pakyawan.
Mm.
Pero ang ginagawa ng gobyerno, hindi, mag-price control na lang kami, mas mabilis, mas simple, and I suppose politically good-looking. Pero bandang huli, pag may pasyente, lahat ng gamot nila babayaran ng PhilHealth na ang nangyayari, kaming mga taxpayer ang nagbabayad naman dun sa PhilHealth. Correct ba yun?
It's supposed to be done that way, kasi what's also going on is this, and I also need to do a further revision. But di ba may mga packages yung PhilHealth, for treatment, and then but the treatment package doesn't necessarily define how much goes to the facility, for the professional fees and for the medicines. Usually, what happens is that the medicine component is cut out or very much diminished. So yung nangyayari is that the patient actually winds up having to spend a good sum of their own on medicines, and that's where the you might say the pain comes in because they feel it, no. Whereas if you compare health insurance schemes in other places, it's defined that the medicines are included as well, no? And that's why PhilHealth or Philippine Pharma Procurement on behalf of government can actually negotiate that bulk. No?
So you're saying that if government buys in bulk, it can sell the medicines, dispense the medicines cheaper than it would cost me to buy as an individual patient.
That's correct. Tama yun.
By how many % cheaper? Sorry no,
Yeah.
alam ko hindi ka naman statistician pero baka sakali lang na napag-usapan ninyo yan. Ano ba?
Well, it also again depends on the conditions of the negotiation because you have bulk procurement. We know that yung bultuhan. You also have what you call multi-year obligations, no? So that you know that ongoing this is a commitment to buy certain volumes, no? So volume procurement. Now, unless the procurement laws are amended, because I think right now the Procurement Act only allows for, I think, a year, an annual contract with some exceptions. No? But I know that that's also being studied carefully by our legislators on amendments, no, to the procurement law, particularly when it comes to significant savings. No? Because as you know, even for example, like if you're going to buy in bulk yung mga vaccines take a while to prepare. No? And this is important because particularly now that we're talking about 170 vaccines under development, no? Most of which are being done by members of PHAP, no? Abroad. This would be very significant to know that this is how much that they can set aside so that they can have it available for the Philippines, no?
Yeah, I'm down to 2 minutes, Ted.
Sure.
Sorry, no, but
Yeah.
I need an answer. Guesstimate na lang. If the government bought it versus Cito Beltran buying it, how much price difference are we talking about? Percentage, 50% cheaper, 25% cheaper, mga
It could,
guesstimate.
I would say, Cito, it would be more than 50%. In some markets, it can even go as high as 75%. And that's actually that was the crux of our offer to government when we were talking about an alternative mechanism, no? Rather than
Okay.
just slashing across the board. One point before we go, no? I know you also have a timetable, no? Is
Yeah.
that this new law, the Executive Order 104, it talks about slashing the prices or capping the prices of medicines at a certain point. But what's happening actually here is that there is a cap more on the wholesale margin, so that when it comes to the end result, yung sa pharmacy level, whether you're going to a drugstore or a hospital, the patient actually may not see that much of a difference, no? So nalulugi yung mga wholesaler, but at the same time, you're talking here about the patients also not seeing it, no? So where is this coming from? We also wanted, we were requesting the president and his team to actually review this, because it's not achieving the intended outcome.
Okay, kasi maraming naniniwala na dahil na-approve na pinatupad na yung executive order na yan, ay mas mura na ang mga gamot. Pero pag pumupunta kami sa parmasiya, at parang mabigat pa rin sa bulsa. Okay, Ted, thank you very much, and I'm sure I'll be calling on you regarding the vaccines, your members, and kung meron namang activities on your side, especially yung individual members ninyo na may mga developments for treatment, management of COVID-19, etc., please feel free to let us know, and we'll bring them on board.
Yes, with pleasure, Cito. Thank you.
Okay, that's Teodoro. Ted Padilla, Executive Director, Pharmaceutical Healthcare Association of the Philippines. Ayan po, nililiwanag lang nila kasi nagpatupad ng price control muli si Secretary Duque, pinadala kay Presidente Duterte, naggawa naman ng executive order ang Malacanang para mabawasan ng malupit daw yung mga presyo. Ang problema, nagkabawasan daw, sabi ni Ted Padilla, dun sa wholesaler, dun sa maramihan kung bumili. Pero pagdating ngayon dun sa baba, medyo, siyempre, o retailer, o ilan, 5 piraso lang, o sige, magkano yung discount dyan sa taas? 20, o sige, dagdagan natin dito ng konti. Ang nangyari, imbis na lalong bumaba ang parang wala rin. So, ewan ko, yun ang pagkakaintindi natin. But if I'm to believe Mr. Padilla, kung ang gobyerno ang mamimili, mamamakyaw kasi sila ang pinakamaraming pera, sila yung pinakamaraming hospital, sila yung pinakamaraming empleyado, malaking ganansya yun, malaking pakinabang yun. Kung yung mga government employees pa lang ay nakakabili na based on the pooled procurement, malaking ginhawa po yun. Okay, speaking of ginhawa, hahanap muna tayo ng ginhawa. We'll go for a break. When we come back, let's talk about homeschooling. And please don't leave because you need to learn things. Baka malay nyo, mamaya ka mo, biglang maging teacher ka at home, lolo teacher at home, ay nagkakamot ka ng ulo dyan dahil hindi mo alam yung gagawin mo. Let's go to our next guest right after this break. Okay, welcome back to Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran. And at this stage, we will be bringing in our next guest. We've been getting some queries online, lalo na yung misis ko na nakakasubok nitong homeschooling ba? Kasi we did it for 1 year. It was a really great experience. We all got involved. And meron talagang real life learning kasi ano po, ang ginawa namin, pag mga history classes or geography or whatever, binabiyahe namin. Okay, either by bus, by car, para makita nung anak namin, makita ni Hana actual na lugar, whether it's in Ilocos, Batangas, or the Visayas, medyo very fulfilling po sa kanya na makita yon. And it was a good experience. And a lot of people, pero ang first question nila ngayon, alin sa dami ng nakikita naming mga eskwela, mga online this, online that, how do we tell which one is the good one? Let's bring in the chairman of Homeschool Global Learning Incorporated, founder and president of the Parents Schooling Company, Mr. Edrick Mendoza. Edric, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Good morning.
Edric. Good morning. Ibang-iba na yung dating mo, ha? In any case, Edric, I think you heard my initial intro. I've been getting a lot of a number, not a lot, but a number of inquiries, questions. How do we even know where to begin if we want to get into homeschooling for our children? Ay sabi ko, di puntahan ninyo yung pinuntahan namin na ginamit namin sa Victory, etc. So, can you just give an input to our viewers?
Right. So I think importante sa mga viewers is to first define it, no? Ang DepEd, nag-release siya ng mga learning continuity plans that basically have 4 types of learning in this new normal, if you will. So the 4 types of learning would be face-to-face, which is what many students know, which is obviously very hard to come by because of the protocols around the Philippines and around the world. The second is distance learning, which can be mistaken for homeschooling. Distance learning, ito po yung you are at home, but you're still enrolled in a school, whether private or public, and you are learning either through online, you're learning through maybe book modules that are sent, right? Or you are learning through radio or TV, yan po, distance learning. The third is blended learning, right? So the blended learning is a little bit of both. Yung meron kang distance, pero some areas where they might allow some face-to-face encounters with the students, that's the blend. And then yung fourth, ito na po homeschooling. What is the main difference of homeschooling from those other 3? Homeschooling is parent-led, home-based education. So parent-led, ang parent po ang nagdadrive. It's not the school with a teacher that you're communicating with. So, sa tanong po ni Cito, where do you now go to learn about homeschooling? Right now, if you just Google it in the Philippines, there are many different what are called homeschool providers or homeschool support groups, such as the one that I am privileged to be a part of, right? Homeschool Global is one of those providers that can help families. And then meron pong national organization in the Philippines called PHAP. You can also approach PHAP to find out about who are the providers, what are the support groups. And then one of the largest support groups, which is on Facebook, is called Homeschoolers of the Philippines. So yan po, if you want to learn more about homeschooling and kung ito ba yung mode of learning na angkop sa inyo, those would be the go-to. Once again, Homeschool Global, you can go to Happy or Homeschoolers of the Philippines.
Okay, now having said all of that, please answer ito yung mga questions na dumadating eh. Number 1,
Yeah.
what about parents who have no experience whatsoever? Kasi may mga parents na ganun eh. Trabaho ng trabaho, malaki ang kita, maganda yung bahay, okay yung lifestyle, pero yaya, asikasuhin mo si kuya, yaya, asikasuhin mo si whatever. And suddenly now, wala na si yaya, umuwi na sa probinsya, umuli na gid. Pagkatapos ngayon, they have to be yaya, they have to be mama, and they have to be papa, and teacher.
Right. So, if that is you or that is your reality, ang advice ko is you want to ask two things, right? Is there someone who can help you? Ang nakita po namin ito is interesting because schools, some numbers of private schools are shutting down. There are teachers who are now suddenly out of a job, and what has been happening, interestingly, is parents are now hiring these teachers to come in and help teach their kids. So yung scenario na ganon can either be online, you're talking with the teacher, helping the teachers connecting with the child, or some parents literally have the teacher in their homes living with them for periods of time because the teacher is obviously a family friend they trust or a relative, right? But that becomes the way that the teaching happens, whether it is in a homeschooling scenario, so tumutulong ngayon itong si teacher or si tutor, right? Or in a based learning. So the distance learning scenario I mentioned of DepEd earlier and the blended, generally, it is called home-based learning. So nasa bahay, pero meron teacher na nagtuturo online. So if a parent is now forced to be at home and do those things, they need to ask themselves, do I want to hire someone to help me? Do I want the flexibility of homeschooling? So gagawin ko muna yung kailangan ko mga trabaho and chores, and then I will get and attend to my child. If not, then they might want a home-based learning setup where, sige anak, dito ka muna sa computer, teacher sa online, siya muna mag-aasikaso sa'yo while I take care of being a yaya and all these other things in the home.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a very good advice, Edric, because may mga tao naman talaga na I remember we used to do that language learning, di ba? Yung mga Pilipino na nagtuturo ng English sa Korean, sa Hapon, sa Chinese. So why can't we get Filipino teachers or Filipino professionals to be teachers to our children online? So kung hindi mo gustong karirin or you really feel insecure about being a homeschool teacher, then call a friend, get help. Number one. Number two, yung cost, Edric, kasi alam mo, maraming tao hindi alam yung cost consideration for homeschooling. A lot of people right now are arguing, well, everyone's going to learn from home, so tuition fees should be 50%, there should be no this, no that. Sa homeschooling, paano ba ang labanan? What are the cost considerations?
Yeah, thank you, Cito. So that's one big difference ng homeschooling versus yung sabi kong home-based learning. No? So kung naka-enroll ka sa isang private school that is still having a teacher that is letting your child learn from home, what we're hearing is from parents and the private sector is, they still have to carry their costs. So the tuition fees are reduced maybe minimally, 10, 15, 20%. Sa homeschooling, bigay ko yung price, the cost of the tuition for a homeschooling student who is with a provider, right? The tuition is anywhere from as low as maybe 15,000 pesos per student per year to maybe about 35 or 40,000 per student per year. Wala pang books yan. So the other cost that parents will now look into would be books and materials. And given this new normal, most materials are clearly online. So the online materials would be anywhere from maybe 5 to 15,000 pesos also, depending on what you end up with. And if you choose books, it would probably be within the same range. So yan po, the cost of homeschooling, even before the pandemic, has been much lower than in a school because of the obvious differences in infrastructure. Kasi nga, ikaw ang magtuturo bilang magulang, and there is no school facilities that the student will be availing of, and all of the other overhead of the teacher, the faculty, the staff, the admin. So yung price points niya are much lower than in a private school.
So from 15 to as much as magkano ka mo? 45 o 35?
15 to about 40,000 for tuition fee.
For the whole year.
Books about 15 for the whole year. At ang unique feature ng mga books ng homeschool is you can use one book for several children or several ages. So kaya nga medyo vary ang price, 5 to 15, no? So all in, you're probably looking at, for a school year, a parent can spend as little as maybe 25,000 pesos per student per year, to as much as whatever you end up deciding. So
Okay. What about the level of competency or quality of education? Siyempre, you can only be as no pupil, nasa Bible na naman to. No pupil can be greater than his teacher. No servant can be greater than his master. Okay, I'd like to think na acceptable standard na yung magulang, ano? If the children can excel beyond the parents, great. Thank God for that. But as far as the program itself is concerned, uh, how excellent are these programs? Do they make the children who are homeschooled equally competitive? I mean, I know the answers, but for those who don't know the answers, Edric, does homeschooling result in equally competitive, competent students?
So the answer is generally yes, and maybe arguably even more competitive. And the answer, the education answer to that, would be the methodology. The burden is not so much on the parents or on the materials, although that is very important. No? Kailangan meron namang sapat na pagkakaalam itong magulang natin. Yung materials, kailangan also good quality. But the methodology, yung methodology kasi po ng homeschooling is personalized. You are able to tailor fit the learning of the child to your unique child. Instead of what is happening in many conventional schools, where you will have a sort of cookie cutter, right? One size fits all. If I have a grade 1 class with 20 to 40 to 200, depending on how many students in a class, I have to pace everybody, and therefore it is standardized. It is not tailor fit. Alam natin na every learner is unique. So that is what we have seen as the advantage of this mode of learning all over the world. The fact that it is personalized, it is tailor fit
Okay.
to the unique child. You can go at their pace. You can choose what is their interest and use that to help them cover the academic learning. And the natural result of personalized education is clearly something better. It's the dream of every educator. I also gave back to my school and taught in college level, 35 students. And as good teachers, you want to make sure that each student gets deep learning, but you cannot
Yeah.
because you have a time set schedule. So that would be my response, Cito. Generally, it does well because of that approach. The homeschooler therefore learns how to love learning and how to learn, which is a very transferable skill. You put them in other scenarios, whether it's a real life working scenario or they now go back into a big school or a conventional school, because they've learned how to learn in that
Yeah.
individualized or personalized environment, they can adapt themselves generally well. So yung mga requirements ng parents at materials sa DepEd, part of the conversation we have had is they suggest that parents who will now teach the children, sila po ang primary teacher, sana po at least merong college diploma, so that there is some guarantee that the quality of instruction is also good, obviously. So even if the methodology itself is solid, there is a minimum standard for parents to help give the government a semblance of guarantee that there will be quality. And that's how
Yeah.
they now accredit providers. Yeah.
Yeah, but Edric, yung point na yan, sana at the minimum college degree holder, maraming, alam mo, in the last 5 years or not even 10, I've seen a lot of people who, because of financial limitations, have opted for 2-year courses. Meaning, alam mo na, yung mga nursing, ewan ko, nursing ba yun? Basta alam ko may maraming mga nag-vocation, hindi na tumuloy ng 4-year college, 2-year college na lang, or specialization. Will that limit or affect their ability as parents to be teacher to their children? Kasi, I know a college degree is a good thing, but in many countries, many people are not college degree holders.
That's a great question, Cito. Yeah. So philosophically, right, the philosophy behind homeschooling is the parent knows their child best. So if I answer it from a philosophical standpoint, of course, there should be no standard. Kung gusto mo at kaya mo, and you feel like you can do a good job in teaching your child, then go for it. That's the philosophical answer. But from I think from a from a institutional standpoint, from if we were to wear the lenses, for example, of DepEd, and we've worked with them for decades, and we realize it's a tough job. So if I am DepEd and I'm helping create the standards, the quality na tinanong mo kanina, excuse me,
Yeah.
the reality is there's only so much they can do, right? So they would say standards like that. So at least nakapagtapos, may bachelor's degree, so that there is some semblance of guarantee that there's quality. But is that the ultimate measure of quality? As I said, philosophically, the parents should know the child best.
Pero ang tanong, Edric, kunyari, hindi nga ako naka 4-year course, naka 2-year college degree lang ako. Does that mean that DepEd says I am not allowed to enroll my child in homeschooling and be the parent?
So that is honestly a gray area. Again, it's a strong recommendation in some of the guidelines that have been issued. It has stated that you must have a college degree, right? So what I would suggest, Cito, for parents like that, the definition I gave, parent-led, home-based education of homeschooling, can still be applied by parents in this new normal, right? So what I would do, if you are that parent, kung kayo po yun, you feel like, uy, parang lugi naman ako, I don't have a college diploma, and that seems to be part of the regulation or the guideline, what you can do is still have home-based learning enrolled in a school. You can still be engaged in the child's
Pero hindi
development.
hindi homeschooling yun.
Hindi siya yung definition na binigay ko. Yes, hindi siya yung naka-enroll ka sa provider, hindi ka yung primary teacher, right? But at least you're still involved in the learning and in the instruction of the child.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to annoy my friends at the DepEd regarding that. Kasi marami tayong kilala na hindi nakatapos. I mean, my father became a well-known journalist. He didn't finish college until after martial law. My mother ran a department in the SSS. She didn't finish college until I think in her 50s. So parang I think this institutionalized mandates need to be addressed. In any case, going back to homeschooling because we're running out of time here. Quick question na lang kasi may mga parents, Edric, who are under the impression, this is a school, I am the teacher, you have to wake up early in the morning and we will start the lessons and these are the drill. Alam ko na hindi naman ganun talaga ang homeschooling. Pakiliwanag mo lang doon sa hindi nakakaintindi.
Right. So, if I understand, the question is more of yung parent ba, are they too lax or are they too strict, right?
Yeah.
Kung yun ang tanong, my suggestion is parents who choose to homeschool, and this is also to your question earlier about you might want to suggest to the DepEd na they adjust the requirements of the parent. I totally agree with you, Cito. They are what are called independent homeschoolers. The independent homeschoolers are literally that. There is no qualification. They just teach their kids. Unfortunately, they're not registered yet with the DepEd. So when they go into the school system, they have to take a battery of tests with DepEd. Having said that, my answer to your question about pakiliwanag yung mindset ng parents, what I strongly encourage parents to think about is if you choose to homeschool your children in the way we have defined, parent-led, home-based education, the main focus is not the academics, it is the parenting. We've seen that the successful homeschoolers, the ones that I mentioned earlier, yung mga are competitive or do even better, the secret in making the education personalized at home is actually making sure that you focus more on the parenting than on the academics. What does that mean? Things like discipline, things like character, things like diligence, things like hard work, things like perseverance, and things like building good relationships with the child so they will listen to you instead of going on their gadget, getting distracted. So many of the parenting basics and parenting principles need to be embraced by families who homeschool so that as you apply these parenting principles, the learning of the academics and all the other life lessons will be woven in very well. And if that is done well, we have seen, even empirically through research, that's what helps the children do very well, not just academically, but in life as they apply themselves to jobs, businesses, professions, etc.
Okay, well, Edric, I think we've learned a lot today, and I do hope that people, more and more people, connect with you and your organization. Kasi marami talagang medyo lito, don't know, and are afraid. And I do hope that we can get all of these parents on board, because homeschooling definitely benefited my daughter, and we love the experience. Thank you for joining us this morning, Edric.
So glad to hear God connecting with you again. Bye-bye. God bless.
Okay, God bless. That's Edric Mendoza, chairman of the Homeschool Global Learning Incorporated. Ayun po, no, tayo ay medyo paubos na ng oras. It's already 9:28, last 2 minutes on the program. Thank you dun po sa mga nagte-text. And sa inyo po, some of you are asking more information about myself. Pasensya na po kayo, praning ako, I'm paranoid, medyo, I don't know, I'm just not into, how do you, I like to help people, may problema, sige, tutulungan natin dito sa agenda. Pero pag on yung mga personal information na medyo nag-iingat po tayo, because ang dami pong nanloloko ngayon. Some person called my wife regarding telephone, some person called another friend regarding BPI account, yung pala mga peke. So hindi ko lang po sinasabing peke kayo, but please try to understand. If I'm kind of hesitant to connect, it is not because I don't like you. Hindi lang po, I'm just scared. I just don't want to have to reformat my phones, reformat my personal data, etc. In any case, we've come to the end of the show. I just want to share something. Simula po kagabi up to this morning, I kept getting this word. You do not have because you do not ask. Eh sabi ko, Lord, I mean, simple naman ang buhay. Okay na ako. I'm happy. So I read the Bible, and I found the same word again. You do not have because you do not ask. Ask anything in my name, said Jesus, and I will grant it, or I will give it. Hindi po wishing machine si Jesus, no? But I think it's his way of saying that God wants to bless us. Because like parents, tayo, mga magulang, we want to always bless our children. We want to see, ang sarap makita yung natutuwa yung mga anak natin. And there doesn't have to be a reason. Minsan, naglalakad ka lang sa mall, bigla may makikita ka, bibigyan mo pasalubong. And I think the Lord is trying to tell all of us, lalo na kayo na mga medyo nagdadalawang isip, na hindi convinced, ask. Ask God. Whether or not He gives it to you, whether He gives it to you or He doesn't give it to you, that's not the point. God said, ask, Eddie, ask. Ask the big things, ask the small things, just ask, and it will be given to you one way or the other. I'm just praying that this would help. I don't know how it applies to your lives, pero subukan nyo, wala namang mawawala sa inyo, di ba? Mag-ask, malay mo. And that's agenda for today. God bless all of you.